George Clooney has two Oscar wins, along with nominations as a lead actor, supporting actor, screenwriter, director, and producer. Arnold Schwarzenegger is arguably the greatest action star of all time. Uma Thurman is one of the most important collaborators with perhaps the greatest filmmaker of the last 30 years, Quentin Tarantino. Chris O'Donnell appeared in over 300 episodes of a TV show that ran for 14 seasons. And Joel Schumacher wrote or directed more than 24 movies over a 35-year Hollywood career. In comic book terms, their collective resumes look something like the Justice League, or at a minimum, the West Coast Avengers. Yet, even after assembling a roster of talent this loaded, we somehow still ended up with one of the most reviled superhero films ever released. Welcome to Superhero Cinema Club, an in-depth exploration of the history of superhero films. I'm your host, Mark Schiff, and joining me as always, it's the bane to my poison ivy. It's Mike Carnes. Mike, you know the comics, I think, quite a bit better than I do. Has Bane ever been a poison ivy sidekick? It just felt like they kind of stuck him in there.
Not that I know of.
Yeah,
No.
they were like, we could actually turn this henchman into a well-known villain, so...
He's never
Why not?
really like one note like that either. He's not like Frankenstein's monster, which is what they make him into in this movie.
That's exactly right. I think it's safe to say that this is not the definitive Bane on film.
We're going right in.
Yeah, we're gonna start passing out judgments immediately on this film. Yeah, this film, Batman and Robin from 1997. That's what we're gonna be discussing today. Available to stream like all of the films we're discussing this season on HBO Max. Watch at your own risk. One thing I noted, Mike, the Wikipedia page for this film is wild. The film received generally negative reviews from critics and is considered to be one of the worst films ever made, and it links to an article on the worst films ever made. The image at the top is from Reefer Madness. If you click on it and it does the jump link to Batman and Robin, there's a whole section, and it's nestled in between Biodome in 1996 and a French film of 1997. The Avengers also is on here, 1998. It's not the
Oh
Marvel
yeah, Ray Fiennes
Avengers,
Avengers,
but
right?
the Ray Fiennes Avengers. Didn't realize it was that low, but
I think
yeah,
this movie
if you're-
would pair really well with Reefer Madness, especially if you're smoking a big fatty and watching this movie. It may improve
Absolutely.
it. So
Honestly, yeah, that's an excellent point, honestly. This movie probably is best enjoyed on drugs and or alcohol or something that can just, lighten the mood a little bit. Definitely not the kind of like sobering, realistic take of Batman that we've kind of come to expect in the 21st century Batman canon, let's say.
I am 6 cocktails deep just in preparation of talking about this movie.
Fair enough. I can't blame you, man. Well, before we get into the whole movie, I did want to start off by discussing this. Batman and Robin, iconic duo on paper and comic books, as well
Yes.
as even on the small screen in the original Batman series. They can't get Robin right in the movies, and they've only really tried these 2 times with Batman Forever, our previous episode, and then Batman and Robin. But Mike, I guess it raises the question for me, why is movie Batman so much better without a Robin?
I might have to think about that one. It seems to me, like you said, there's only the Chris O'Donnell version of this, and he just sucks flat out. We've only had the one attempt, like you said, other than like Joseph Gordon-Levitt in The Dark Knight Rises, who, surprise, he's Robin at the end of that movie. That doesn't really count, even though I would have liked to see
Yeah,
that.
it doesn't count.
It doesn't
Yeah.
count, but I would have liked to see that.
I agree. He could have been good if they had actually gotten him, actually even in 97, to be Robin. I think he could have pulled it off because he was, I think, starring on Third Rock from the Sun at the time.
Yes.
He'd have been a younger Robin for sure.
A young boy wonder definitely would have worked out with that casting, I think. But I don't know. Why does he work better is without Robin? It's just because the subject material that has produced the films that we've gotten have just been better without him. I mean, if maybe Christopher Nolan had figured out a way to put him in Dark Knight Rises at the beginning of that movie rather than at the end, it probably would have easily given him the crown as best Robin or something like that. Or, throw Robin into the Justice League movies in the Zack Snyder cut. Sure, why not? That would have been great.
Yeah, if you remember, there was some kind of allusion to a Robin being killed to Ben Affleck's Batman, where he had his suit still hung up and it had some Joker stuff with it.
That's right.
I guess he did technically appear, or his costume did in the Snyderverse as well. But yeah, my theory as to this, it really kind of comes down to, I think number one, Batman, as we discussed in our opening episode, such a complex, rich character. There's just enough to focus on with him alone that you really almost don't need a sidekick. He is such a great backstory and is just such a rich character to explore on his own that it feels superfluous no matter what. I also think that at the end of the day, if you're gonna do Robin, right, it's gotta be like a lone wolf and cub type situation, right?
Ooh,
Where
yeah.
it's a younger kid, like in his teen years or something like that, that Batman picks up and then is perverting, for lack of a better term, into like, should I actually manipulate this young person and curse them with this dark burden that I carry with me? That could be incredibly compelling. And it sounds like potentially that could be where James Gunn goes in the new DCU. There are rumors, although I don't believe it's been confirmed, that they could do an adaptation of Batman the Brave and the Bold series. For those who aren't familiar, that is adapting a storyline in which Bruce Wayne's illegitimate son with Talia al Ghul, Damian Wayne, suddenly appears in his life and then takes up the mantle as a new Robin. But because he's been trained by the League of Assassins, he's just basically sociopathic or like eager to kill, or at least doesn't really have that moral compunction. And so it's kind of a conflict between Batman trying to enforce his own code on a real wild style Robin. That could be excellent, I think. Either
Could
of
be.
those options, right? Where you're either Batman is, like I said, dealing with the realization of what he could be passing on to a Robin, or the inverse, which is this kid has no scruples whatsoever, and how do I even tame this basically wild child and get him to, to follow a hero's code. So we'll see what ends up happening in the DCU. I think James Gunn, frankly, is the right kind of guy to shepherd that type of project, just given his sensibilities that are a little edgier. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's just been interesting. I think that, like I said, in the comic books, what's such an iconic duo is just never really succeeded on the big screen. One other thing I did want to just point out, Marlon Wayans was supposed to be Robin. As early as Batman Returns, actually, he had been cast. And then apparently he still got like residual checks because he was technically under contract.
What? That's
Yeah,
crazy.
Marlon Wayans. Yeah. Now that could have been kind of cool. I actually could kind of see that. They've never really had a Black Robin in the comics, as far as I know. But again, like some kid
I
who's
just
kind of more street smart, getting brought in, I think could be kind of a cool Batman dynamic with Robin.
I just think it's crazy that he's receiving residual checks for
I
some
know,
work that
right?
he didn't do.
Hollywood
So
accounting, it's wild, man. It's a wild, wild thing.
there it is again. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it would have been fine to have a Black Robin. I'm okay with that, of course. I mean, maybe even someone like Jason Todd or Tim Drake. So it's perfectly fine. James Gunn, it depends on which version of Robin he goes for. If he's going for Damian Wayne, you fully should embrace the father-son dynamic and Bruce not knowing how to be a parent, trying to raise this, as you said, like kind of a wild stallion of a kid. And I think that could be very interesting. So we'll see what happens.
Well, until we get an actual good Robin on screen, what we have to talk about today is the one that we got in the summer of 1997, and Batman and Robin would kick off our Tale of the Cape. So, like all four Batman movies, Mike, this film was released in my birth month of June, on June 20th, 1997. Now,
Oh,
because of the massive success of Batman Forever, which, as we mentioned in our previous episode, was the second highest grossing film of 1995, just behind Toy Story, they got a bigger budget for Batman and Robin and they put it on the fast track. So Batman and Robin's budget is estimated between 125 and 160 million. But Mike, let me tell you, it did not pay off the increased budget. It only grossed $238 million dollars. That is in the range of Batman Returns. I think Batman Returns was a little more than that, but just given the budget and then how much more in marketing fees, it didn't do much better than break even. It wasn't a big hit like the first three films were. Now, unlike the previous film, they had to once again recast Batman and bring in a bunch of new actors to play this film's villains. So let's just start at the man who gets top billing in this movie. I thought that was notable, Mike. One Arnold Schwarzenegger
The man
as
himself.
the man himself as Victor Freeze, aka Mr. Freeze. So at the time of this film, Mike, Arnold was still a massive, massive movie star, although he was kind of already starting to decline somewhat. He had a big hit with True Lies in '94, but his second Danny DeVito comedy, Junior, didn't do quite as well. And then '96 had a couple real rough Arnold movies, Eraser and a movie I've never seen, but have always just hated despite never actually watching it, Jingle All the Way in 1996. It just felt like so crass. Like, let's make a movie about how Christmas shopping is war, man. And it's like, no, that's so gross. Like,
Yeah, very
Batman,
commercial,
exactly. This is
commerce
exactly
version of Christmas. Yeah.
this is what Batman Returns was fighting against, the commercialization of Christmas. So this is the point at which he signs up for Batman and Robin and gets top billing. The character himself, they actually based around, in terms of his story arc, the classic Batman animated series story arc for Mr. Freeze that was written by Paul Dini. I think that's probably on the short list of greatest Batman the animated series episodes, and
Easily.
he's certainly one of the best characters in the whole show. He's extremely sympathetic and really tortured and is kind of just doing what he has to do for love. That is the exact storyline here for Mr. Freeze's character, but it's a lot more difficult to pull off when you have Arnold Schwarzenegger trying to carry all that emotional weight. Something
Yeah.
that, for all his considerable strengths, and I am an Arnold fan, I want to be clear about that, just does not work in this film. I gotta say.
Arnold is, I think, for all intents and purposes, a great man. Bill Burr put it best in his 6 minute routine about Arnold, where he talks about all the amazing things that he accomplished. And he's like, I dare you to get famous for lifting weights, move to another country, marry into their royalty, and then run for their office. Like, or but even before that, become the most famous person in that country for a movie star on top of it. His resume is unmatched in
That's
all of life.
absolutely, that's perfectly said. I mean, it's actually kind of unbelievable, his story. It truly is like the American dream, especially when it comes to immigrants. And he's got multiple classics under his belt, including what I would consider very possibly the greatest sequel of all time in Terminator 2 Judgment Day. I think that is a perfect film, and it's better than the original in every possible respect, which is extremely difficult for a sequel to pull off.
Yeah.
Certainly on my short list for the greatest action movie of all time, greatest sci-fi movie of all time. He's got Total Recall, which I absolutely love. One of my favorite movies in terms of a film I cannot get enough of.
Predator, one of the greatest action movies of all time, spawned a whole franchise of great action movies. That movie is just works on every level, especially if you're a guy. Let's face it, that's like the ultimate guy movie. The
Totally.
handshake between him and Carl Weathers completely embodies that.
Yeah. I mean, these are three of the greatest action movies ever made, we're talking about. So Arnold's resume is unimpeachable. Unfortunately, I think we're going to be trashing him pretty hard throughout this episode, and we'll just leave it at that for now. Next up on the cast list, we've got our new Batman, none other than George Clooney. Now, it kind of surprised me, Mike, to learn his big breakout role was in ER, where he
Yep.
played Dr. Doug Ross for 109 episodes from 1994 through 1999. So he was still filming ER and was part of the main cast when he slipped into the bat suit. And there was actually a delay in filming, which allowed him to continue to shoot his full season of ER.
That's crazy to think about. He was still in ER while filming this movie at the same time.
It really is. I was under the impression this was one of his first film roles after leaving the show, but no, it was literally right in the middle of his ER run. I'm going to just put it out there immediately. I think he is pretty much unquestionably the worst Batman in the entire franchise, all across
Bro,
of them.
I'm so mad at you right now. You shat all over Val Kilmer last episode saying he was worse than Clooney.
Upon rewatch and further consideration, Kilmer is definitely not great, but George Clooney seems embarrassed to be in this movie. When you watch his role and how he plays it, it just feels like he doesn't know what to do. I think the biggest thing here, Mike, is that I think George Clooney has proven himself to be an extremely talented and versatile actor. He's done a lot of different films, he's played a lot of different types of characters. I think he's really good. He's won an Oscar for his acting. But man, he is bad. If you only were to see this movie and didn't know anything else about George Clooney, you'd be like, that guy's a bad actor. I mean, he is really, really rough in this. It's almost like George Clooney was so bad and so embarrassed by this movie. And I think this really was a conscious decision. He was like, I'm never going to do anything like that again. And I'm going to have a career where I only make movies that I can actually say I'm proud of. And I'm not going to just cash grab. And say what you will, because there are some less than successful films that he's done. George Clooney has always done what he wants to do. He is not someone who is really sold out and made films to get the paycheck. Tomorrowland, perhaps in 2015, which is another forgotten for time, notwithstanding. I think George Clooney has really shown a lot of integrity in his choices after Batman and Robin. Now, one thing I was somewhat surprised to learn is that apparently he played Batman as gay. According to George Clooney's own words, Joel Schumacher, who was the openly gay director of this film, told him that he kind of saw it. This is like kind of a gay fantasy. There's an entire Wikipedia article called Homosexuality in the Batman Franchise, in which you can learn more if you're so inclined. And that is where I saw this quote, Mike. George Clooney joked, Joel Schumacher told me we never made another Batman film because Batman was gay. In 2006, Clooney said in an interview with Barbara Walters that in Batman and Robin, he played Batman as gay. I was in a rubber suit and I had rubber nipples. I could have played Batman straight, but I made him gay. Walters then asked, George, is Batman gay? To which he replied, no, but I made him gay. Now, Mike, I actually think that Bruce Wayne kind of does act like a closeted gay man in this movie.
Yeah, they
He's
ask him if he
gay.
wants to marry Elle McPherson, and he's like, marriage? What are you talking about? I don't know.
That
What? You
scene,
don't want to marry that woman? Are you kidding me?
he is with peak Elle McPherson in this movie, and he can't decide. Now, again, I can understand they kind of played with this in Batman Forever, and even really in Batman Mask of the Phantasm, it's like he kind of has to choose between a woman or being Batman. That
Right.
is not what this scene is like. He's just like awkward. The scene with her at dinner is awkward. Now, he is sexually attracted to Poison Ivy, but both men and women are sexually attracted to Poison Ivy when she uses her pheromone powers. So I
Exactly.
think it's
They're under
really
her
like
influence.
exactly. So even presumably straight women were still calling and falling for her. So that kind of throws that out the window. And I think there is pretty strong evidence that his performance makes Batman gay in this movie.
I'm not going to let you get off that easily. You owe Val Kilmer a huge apology.
I may have said some stuff, Val, popping off a little bit last time. I apologize to you upon further consideration in rewatching this movie for just the second time in my life for this podcast.
I
I
saw this in theaters, by the way, and I remember walking out, even as a 10-year-old boy, shaking my head like, what was that? So,
I could see it. Next up on our rogues gallery of actors who appeared in Batman and Robin is Uma Thurman, who plays Dr. Pamela Isley, aka Poison Ivy. Not great for her either, Mike. No one that is new in this cast is really covering themselves in glory in this film, but it's tough. I didn't hate her like some of the other performances, and there are certain people we know that maybe think she's worse than Arnold in this. I'm not going to go that far, but yeah, she's really camping it up. Her whole kind of dialect is like 20s. It kind of reminded me of Jennifer Jason Leigh in Hudsucker Proxy.
oh
Like,
man, yeah, the Mid-Atlantic accent. Yeah,
exactly.
I
Like,
was
hey
really
guys,
confused
what are
by
you
that.
doing, boys?
Hey, boys,
Yeah.
what's going
Yeah.
on here, fellas?
Tough. It's tough, man. She's forever an icon thanks to Kill Bill. She's done her fair share of great work, and I have nothing but respect for her. Beautiful woman, very talented. This ain't it, dog.
No, it's not. I don't know why she chose the Mid-Atlantic accent. I don't know what decision that came into. First, it was British when she first comes out, by the way, as
Huh. I
as
didn't really notice that when she's like her just in the doctor before she gets mutated.
no, no. After she dies, quote unquote, and then comes back and is like reborn as Poison Ivy, she's trying to do a British accent, and it does not make any sense. And then, as the movie goes on, it like morphs into a weird Mid-Atlantic thing. I thought anyway.
Very rough. Our
It's a rough
final,
performance.
yeah, it's not great. It's really not great. Again, similar to Batman Forever, what makes all of this doubly tough is, frankly, with the exception of Arnold Schwarzenegger, like all these people are very, very talented actors and performers. Actually, maybe I spoke too soon because Alicia Silverstone is also in this movie. I really don't want to crap on her, Mike. She is downright iconic in Clueless. She
Hashtag,
was
it's not her fault.
yeah, I mean, she was a true icon for men my age when we were growing up, thanks to the Aerosmith videos.
Oh
Kind of
God, yeah.
has that down home look, but also is just strikingly beautiful and just extremely charming. She just seems just like someone you would actually know in real life, that there's a relatable quality to her as well. I can't really think of anything outside of Clueless. I've been like, man, she was excellent in that. So maybe the jury's out for me. But again, I don't want to be too harsh on her because I mean, she might have it roughest of all. Her character, Barbara Wilson, we'll talk about that later,
Yeah.
aka Batgirl, an absolute cliche of like 90s PC girl power. It's really rough. It's not good.
Apparently, I was reading that a lot of her scenes in this movie were cut because as a young teenage girl, I think she's about 19 or something when this movie came out, she had gained a few pounds, as we're all want to do from time to time. And she had to kind of be refitted for the bat suit. And so stuff that they had shot didn't really work. It wasn't looking right on film. And so they cut a bunch of stuff out. And Joel Schumacher himself is on record as defending her. I guess there were times in the press where they were like trashing her for gaining weight and stuff. And he was like, what are you doing? There's all these women out here that are bulimic and anorexic and things like that. And you're going after the one person who has something completely relatable going on, who hasn't gained a few pounds? Like, what are you doing? Come on. Credit to him there for defending her. But I guess, yeah, there was a lot more to her character that they ended up cutting out
Interesting.
because of that.
I could see that actually because it's very underdeveloped. She feels extremely shoehorned in as far as the plot goes. Again, it's not her fault. It's the character. Pretty much every line of dialogue in this entire film, without exaggeration, just kind of made me want to crawl inside my skin. You know, like it's so bad. The
It's really
the
bad.
writing, we should mention the script is from Akiva Goldsman, who was a co-writer on Batman Forever and then reteamed with Schumacher to do this. Joel Schumacher, who was the director of Batman Forever Returns, a lot of the same crew from the previous film. Stephen Goldblatt doing the cinematography once again, Elliot Goldenthal on the score. And once again, the production design was done by Barbara Ling. Now, this is where I am going to compliment this film, Mike. I think the production design is significantly better in this movie than it was in Batman Forever. And specifically, I think Gotham City looks kind of amazing in this film. I really like how they make everything extremely vertical. Even the highways are like elevated and stacked up. I really like the observatory with the big guy holding it up as a statue.
Yeah,
I
100%.
actually think the production design on this is close to Batman Returns level. It's not as good as the original. I think that will always be the most iconic, but I really like the production design. I think it's vastly superior. All of the sets are, frankly, vastly superior to Batman Forever.
I mentioned it last two episodes, but the huge statues of buff guys everywhere. The observatory was my number one call out. That is incredibly cool to have this huge guy holding the observatory up above his head. And then we've got the whole sequence where they drive down the statue and his arm and they jump off the finger. And it's kind of a cool set piece and concept, I think. And execution is another story, but the set design and, like you said, Gotham City itself, absolutely amazing production design.
Now, one of the things where it didn't quite add up to the previous film, certainly, was the Batman and Robin soundtrack. As we mentioned in the last episode, that was a smash hit. You had a big U2 single. seal an iconic 90s song. Again, this is a tough one because there's some really talented artists in the soundtrack here, including with the opening track. The End is the Beginning is the End by the Smashing Pumpkins, which went on to win the Grammy Award that year for Best Hard Rock Performance. It's a banger. I really
Okay.
like that song. Yeah, I think it's really good. You've got a Bone Thugs and Harmony song on here. You've got an REM song on here. Jewel, Goo Goo Dolls, Michelle and Cello. But you also have Gotham City by none other than R. Kelly. Now, I would not know anything about this song if I hadn't let the credits of the film play and then I heard it and like, boy, R. Kelly has done some stinkers in his day. This is really rough. He's literally singing about like we need a place that has justice. We need a place where we can find a hero, and it's called Gotham City. Like when you're incorporating Gotham City into the lyrics of your song, it's maybe a little too on the nose. Even Prince didn't say anything like the Joker, Vicky Vale. Like he had the Bat Dance, which is a little more on the nose, but still, like this is rough. Check it out at the end of the movie, or dare
Or don't.
even YouTube it or check it out on Spotify. Good God, I'm not really listening to any R. Kelly
I
these days.
I wouldn't think
Very
that R.
wasted
Kelly would
spot.
be the person to be singing about justice, but here we are.
Here we are. So that didn't really hit. And the score, it's another bad one. It's rough. Like we mentioned last time, there were a lot of very talented people who worked on this film, but basically all of them have disowned it, and it has gone down in notoriety as one of the worst superhero films ever made. And Mike, let me tell you, the Razzies nominations bear that out. This film was nominated Worst Picture, Worst Remake or Sequel, Worst Reckless Disregard for Human Life and Public Property, Worst Director, Worst Screenplay, two Worst Supporting Actor nominations, two Worst Supporting Actress nominations, Worst Screen Couple, and an absolutely blasphemous Worst Song for the End is the Beginning of the End. That one, get it out of here. The West. And by the way, the worst screen couple is George Clooney and Chris O'Donnell. It is not any of the romantic
I
leads.
love it. That's amazing.
Mike, this film only took home one of those Razzies, however. Can you guess which one?
Worst picture.
No, that is not correct. It went
Ah,
to Alicia Silverstone for Worst Supporting Actress
ah, man.
over Uma Thurman. Yeah, that's a tough beat for her. Not the one that I would hand out, but we will get into that later. So,
George Clooney, by the way, is apparently on record as giving out refunds to anybody who mentions this movie to him, who
it's
comes up to him
amazing.
in person and says, "Yeah, that movie sucked." And he's like, "All right, I'm sorry about that. Here you go. Here's
Here's
20
your
bucks
10
back."
bucks. Yeah, good for him. It is kind of ironic because he did very briefly reprise his role in The Flash for the little stinger at the very end of that film, which I thought was actually kind of clever.
More to come on
All
that in season 7 of
ex
Superhero Cinema Club.
exactly. Not the only Batman to reprise his role in that film, but we'll talk about that one when we get there. So now let's just jump into our first category, Best Action Scene. Mike, I feel that this movie is pretty confounding from the very beginning. And so rather than traditionally save I've got questions for the end of our show, I think we're just going to have to raise these questions as we discuss the film itself because there's just so many questions. So why don't you hit us with our I've got questions theme as we get into Best Action?
I want to ask you a bunch of questions, and I want to have them answered immediately.
Questions. Questions that need answering.
Too many questions. There's too many questions. There's just too many. Yeah. I'll ask the questions.
Now, this movie, like its predecessor, does get off right away into some action scenes. We've got Museum on Ice. This is the introduction. Well, let me back up just briefly here because we need to start in the Batcave again, mimicking Batman Forever. Instead of just one gratuitous suit up sequence, you get back to back. The camera zooms in on two different bat butts and two different bat crotches. I will say again, the gear looks pretty sick as they are getting it going, but the trademark bad joke is right there. First line of this film, I want a car. Chicks dig the car. Batman responds, this is why Superman works alone. Then Alfred giving his little zinger. He gets a don't wait up, Al from Robin. And then he says, I'll cancel the pizzas. It's tough. Tough sledding right away. That takes us immediately into the museum sequence. Okay, so Arnold, basically every line of dialogue is some sort of cold pun. And his very first one, there's so many they could have gone with. He says, the Iceman cometh. Seriously? This is the best line you could come up with for his intro, a 1939 Eugene O'Neill play? Really?
All right, I got two things to say about this. Number one, according to IMDb, he has 27 ice puns throughout the course of this movie. That's not to mention the ones that George Clooney says back to him. But number two, if you're going to get a guy who slings out cheesy one-liners from time to time, who better? Come on. Arnold, a very tenured history of slinging out really bad one-liners. So I can understand kind of in retrospect why they went with Arnold for this role.
But that's a
And
great point, honestly, because yeah, I mean, Arnold does kind of have the hit you with the catchphrase, but the problem is you got to earn that. You have to kind of maybe build up to it, and then
he earned it in his
comes and
career.
it's like basically a song that's like nothing but choruses. You don't want nothing but
very
chorus.
true.
Like you need some verse to build up to the chorus. Like
That's
what
a
is
great
it's just nothing but catchphrases. It gets quite annoying quite quickly.
It is kind of endearing though in retrospect of like, okay, Arnold he's earned it at this point, and
No,
he's gonna say all the one-liners that he can. So
that's
I
a really
kind of
valid
respected
point.
it.
Yeah, valid point. It's super odd to me that Batman's first line, rather than giving him an ice pun right away, he just says, "Hi, Freeze, I'm Batman." Slides down the dinosaur like he's Fred Flintstone. It's unbelievable. He goes full Fred Flintstone. It's incredible, incredible start. This leads me to my very first I've got questions, which is where did Mr. Freeze find goons who are also expert ice skaters and hockey players? Apparently, like when he was recruiting his crew, was he like, you got to be amoral, you got to be willing to do crime, but you also have to be badass on ice skates and meet me at the rink for auditions. And, you know, I'm going to bring a kidnapped woman and you can do your worst with her to prove you have no morals. But also, I want to see like some axles and some hockey drills. Very
Great
odd.
question. Great question.
Also, what a thankless gig it is to be a goon because he's stealing diamonds, yes, but he's not using those diamonds and then selling them and splitting the loot with his homies. He's like consuming the diamonds. Like so how are these guys getting paid? Like they're not selling them on the black market. He's using them. Like that's not really a great thing.
I want to back up for a second because before this scene starts, we get the suit up scene, as you mentioned, and then they take off from the Batcave. And after they take off, Batman gets the call from Commissioner Gordon in his Batmobile, like he's Austin Powers and getting Neville on the phone. and, and he's like, Batman, there's a new villain in town. His name is Mr. Freeze. So he's giving exposition about who this villain is that he's about to face. So Batman has no idea who he's about to face. And yet somehow he has all these things on him that are like ice and freeze oriented. They've got the heat guns, the heat laser guns on them. How does he know that he needs those things before they leave the Batcave?
That's a great question. Great question, Mike. This does lead to honestly, some pretty fun action. And I'm going to go ahead and say this, Mike. I genuinely enjoyed this sequence more than any other action sequence in Batman Forever. I felt like at least the action
Wow.
was comprehensible. It's utterly ridiculous, the entire thing. But I could kind of understand what was going on. I felt like the editing and the cinematography was really choppy in Batman Forever. Like this felt more coherent. I liked the sets better in this movie. I felt like they were better built. They just looked cooler. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of thought that Mr. Freeze ice truck / rocket transformer was like pretty sick vehicle. He actually kind of has sick vehicles throughout this movie. It speaks to the fact that they continuously emphasize in the Wikipedia page about this film that Warner Brothers was like, make it more toyetic. Make the movie where we can sell toys. In fact, Mr. Freeze Blaster was designed by the toy company itself.
Oh,
Apparently.
wow.
It was reverse engineered from their designs for this movie. That is blatantly obvious throughout. This is a really, really commercial film. Long gone are the days of Tim Burton bringing his own creativity and personality into the Batman franchise. And now we're just trying to sell toys, trying to sell merch, trying to sell costumes. The new bat suits are terrible in this movie. Every
They're
one
really
of them.
bad.
And we even complimented the Robin suit in the previous one. It is so bad in this, going all the way onto his shoulders. Ugh, all of it is bad. It all looks like they just wanted to sell toys to little kids. It's really, really crass. But again, I'm not immune to the charms of Batman and Robin jumping out of a rocket ship exploding and surfing on.
Nothing. They don't surf on anything. They're just falling. What are you doing?
I know that's not how it works in the air. Oddly enough, my boss is an avid skydiver and has been going basically every weekend for the last year and really knows what he's doing. And he still doesn't like surf on anything while he's falling from the sky. That part was rough. But again, there's something about this that I found endearingly charming in a goofy way.
It's very 90s. The fact that they're surfing on the air is very 90s. It's like, whoa, we got to appeal to the young crowd. And what do they like? They like surfing and skateboarding. Yeah, bro. That's what it turned out to. And Chris O'Donnell even saying cowabunga as they're diving to their deaths.
Mike, almost every single line of dialogue, a piece of me inside just dies. It's so cringy. That being said, my girlfriend brought this up, and I know your brother, Casey Carnes, shout out, is a big fan of watching big, dumb blockbusters on mute.
Yes.
And I actually think that this movie kind of passes that test. If you don't have to hear what the characters are saying, it looks pretty cool. The production design is cool. Mr. Freeze's costume itself is way too busy, and he has this weird thing where his pecs are glowing blue, but because Joel Schumacher was a real one, he actually just has metal areolas and
I'm
no
so
nipples.
glad you brought that up.
It's kind of amazing. It's like the inverse of the bat suit with the nipples now. They're like no nipples, but areolas. It's just amazing what's going on in the chest.
It's like a negative image of a nipple on his suit.
Exactly. Now, I do want to also give props. Poison Ivy's costume is actually, I would go so far as to say, iconic. I've had friends who have gone as her for Halloween. I think her hair is amazing. I think the flowers over the eyes kind of framing it looks great. Uma Thurman looks pretty freaking amazing in this outfit. And I think it's really gone on to become kind of a cosplay classic, I would say. Overall, visually, I think there's a lot of good stuff to recommend about this movie. But man, it's literally like every single line of dialogue in the movie is bad. Every line. We will get to later 2 good jokes I found in this movie that I genuinely enjoyed. So
there was something that
through.
genuinely made me laugh too. So I'm excited.
Okay, we'll see if we agree on the same thing. Our next big action scene, this would be Party Crashers, where they're having the big gala ball, where Batman is apparently trying to bait Mr. Freeze into coming. Which, let's go with questions here. You're going to invite all the most powerful people in Gotham City to come to your gala event. And then you're going to be like, oh, and I can't wait till the supervillain shows up. I know you're Batman and you're confident in your abilities to defeat the villain, but you're putting the elite of Gotham right in the middle of danger with this stunt, Batman. There's got to be a better way to, like, draw him out, I would think.
My biggest problem with the scene is that Batman doesn't do charity events. What are we doing? He's the guy who hides in the shadows and fights the criminals that we don't see. And he's like a ninja. You're just going to stand outright in front of everybody and to be like, oh, thanks to Batman for being here. What are we doing in this scene? This doesn't make any sense.
He is so playing with fire in so many ways in this scene. Now, also, that means that Bruce Wayne is going to have to disappear from the party. Just the exact moments that
because
Batman
they say
is there.
something about that. They're like, oh, thanks to Bruce Wayne, and he's standing up there as Batman like, oh yeah, thanks Bruce Wayne.
Really playing with fire when it comes to your secret identity is a bad idea all the way around, and I'm frankly glad that he gets punished by Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze in this.
This is also where we get the absolutely egregious product placement of the Visa credit card.
Okay, Mike, I'm glad you brought that up because I got some questions here. How does this even work? Does Batman have to be in costume to use his credit card? So he's like, I just got done with a long night of fighting crime. Don't have time to change into my Bruce Wayne. So I'm just gonna go into the store and pick up a few things, show them my Batman card, and they're gonna be like, "Yep, that checks out. You are Batman."
Did you see the expiration date?
I did not.
Expiration date forever.
Mike, this also raises questions to me. Who issued this card? Wouldn't whatever clerk had to fill out the form when Batman is filling out an application to get a line of credit, he'd have to be like, what's your name? What's your social security number?
And
That person,
last name Man.
yeah, that person ostensibly knows all of the secrets that Batman has spent his entire life guarding with the utmost care. A lot of questions around the card there. Gossip Gertie, let's talk about her briefly. Has to be a sister to Rita Skeeter from the Harry Potter franchise because these are they're the exact same woman. It's the exact same woman. She has the same glasses, kind of has the same hairdo, same ostentatious outfits. What is it about the gossip columnist? Again, I'm just going to call it. I think that they are sisters. And
no, that's great.
One of them lives in London. One of them lives in Gotham City.
Yeah, I love it.
My last question for this scene. Ivy produces her own love potion. It is referred to specifically as pheromone dust. Mike, I don't want to spend too long thinking about this, but where's this pheromone dust coming from? What's going on there? This is a family podcast. I don't want to think about it too much or try to answer this question, but I'll leave it to you, kind listener, to decide for yourself. What's going on with Poison Ivy's pheromone dust?
I have no comments at this point.
Thank you.
That's
the correct answer. That's the correct answer, Mike. Next up, it leads pretty directly into this, and you alluded to it earlier. I'm calling it Race Over Gotham Heights. Mike, I'm calling it now. This is my favorite action scene. I really enjoyed the sequence. I think you get some really cool shots of Gotham City. Now, this is where it is very toyetic because all of a sudden they're just having a big race, and it's like, oh, we can sell toy cars if we have like a really quick little race with the Batmobile and that.
Yeah, sure.
But even here, it brings up some serious questions. Why is Batman disabling Robin's motorcycle when he's cruising at high speeds across the arm of a statue high
Very
above
dangerous.
Gotham City? Like, did you know that Robin would, okay, worst case scenario, he falls off, but he uses his batarang to, like, save himself from dying? Like, that is a really, really risky move. I'm not sure. If I was Robin, I would be pissed. And he does get mad at him after this. I think they're both
they give
kind
him
of hypnotized.
the full frame, like, "Brah!"
He goes,
He's
nah!
like,
Yeah, they do the reverse zoom on him. But man, that being said, again, I actually enjoyed that scene, and I'm calling it. That's my favorite action scene of Batman.
Yeah, it's kind of cool the way they are racing down the arm of the statue and up into the finger. My question is, Batman thinks that he can't make it on a motorcycle, which can easily accelerate and gain a lot of torque and mph, but the Batmobile is fine going off the end of the finger. Like,
yeah,
I think a motorcycle would be safer going off the end of the finger.
100%. You're totally right. That is a great point. Not long after we get our next big vehicle racing scene, Motorbike Mania, and I think this is kind of where it bottoms out in terms of action. This is terrible. It's terribly staged to the point that you're watching this and I'm going, which one is supposed to be Barbara? I cannot tell. There's one guy with like a mohawk. Okay, that's not her. But then she's got the white helmet, and then there's the guy with the red helmet. And I kept thinking, is she the red helmet or is she the white helmet? If you stage a motorcycle race that's supposed to be thrilling and you can't really tell which of the racers is your hero, you did a bad job. It's really, really incoherent. I got questions about the gangs, which what the hell is going on with Clockwork Orange gang in the middle of Gotham City at the beginning, and Coolio gang.
The Coolio gang and the Powdered Wig gang.
Everybody's just got to have a theme, I guess, as gangsters in Gotham City. But yeah, a lot of questions about that, but just a really bad sequence. I really didn't like it. And basically, I think the whole reason why you can't really tell who's who is to build up to the Robin reveal that, oh, no, Robin was actually the guy in the red helmet. How about that? But like, it doesn't matter. Like, they still could have had her hair coming out the back to indicate, okay, that's Barbara. It was just really poorly staged, I thought.
I have nothing more to add. You're absolutely right. It was terrible. And let's just move on from there.
Next up, baby. Raid on Freeze's hideout. This is a really meh. It's fine. I don't know. It's nothing really memorable. The fights are okay. Again, I think the action is better choreographed than it was in Batman Forever, but this does give me one of the two jokes I genuinely enjoyed in this film. When Batman and Robin first show up on the scene, they're still somewhat under the effects of Ivy's hypnosis. Batman says to her, "Great stems, though." And he says, "Buds, too." Well, that was kind of funny. Her stems being her legs, her boobs being her buds. I don't know. I chuckled slightly to myself, which is about all I could say given the sheer volume of jokes in this movie. There's one that kind of got me. And last, our big climax of the film, Mike, Gotham on ice. I do kind of like the freezing effect when he points his ray gun at things, including a dog that's about to urinate on
Oh,
the
poor
fire hydrant.
dog.
I felt bad for that dog, that little bulldog, but I do kind of like the way that that freezing effect looks on screen.
It actually kind of plays into, I gave a recommendation a couple episodes ago about Batman White Knight, which is part of that comic, entails Mr. Freeze freezing all of Gotham, and it is like a positive thing that happens in the story. So it was kind of cool to see that on film after reading about it in the comics. But the biggest thing for me was they the keyboard that they're using to use the telescope to freeze all of Gotham. It's not even a normal. The keys in the keyboard are not right.
It's not a QWERTY?
It's not a QWERTY at all. It's like
Wow.
the letter U is top left, and if you know a QWERTY keyboard, it should be the letter Q. I was looking at it, I was just
Wow.
like, this is so wrong. Why would you change a keyboard?
It's amazing. That is
I couldn't
really
believe it. So
very
I got
sharp observation.
I got a lot of questions. They showed it like 3 times, and I was like, no, that's wrong. That's absolutely wrong.
Just a lot of questions. First off, I believe, I could be mistaken, but Mr. Freeze's mouth is like glowing blue from his helmet in this whole scene. I don't
Sure, why
remember
not?
that earlier in the movie.
He
It's all of a
bleeds.
sudden-
He bleeds bright blue. Why not?
it's super distracting. Also, when they arrive on the scene, you got Robin riding like a bat snowmobile. Batman's kind of in a cool looking, let's call it a bat Zamboni. Batgirl is on a motorcycle. She's just riding a regular motorcycle over the
Yeah.
ice. What's going on there? She's going to slide out immediately and just leave her behind. I think they were trying to do her dirty. And they were like, "I'll take the Zamboni. I'll take the bat snowmobile. You take the motorbike."
Yeah.
It's really bad. That's pretty much our action. Mike, are you with me that the race over Gotham Heights is the height of this movie, or what are you going to go with?
No, actually kind of think the Natural History Museum is the best. I mean, we start immediately, and it's okay. It doesn't really make sense, but it's also Batman on ice. It's like an ice capade kind of thing happening, and it's at least coherent. It's like, okay, they show up, they're looking for the diamond, they're trying to get that. You get the ice, I'll get the Iceman. Okay, that works. And then just goes off the rails from there, and the rocket ship takes off. Like that was his plan the whole time. Is like, I'm gonna steal a diamond, and then I'm gonna get into a rocket ship, and then I'm gonna go up into orbit. That was his plan.
Well, he was
What?
going to freeze all of Gotham City, but again, there's just so many questions that are
No, but
raised as a
he's
result.
like 3 crystals short at that point, so that
Yeah.
wouldn't even work. So why are you going up into the atmosphere at this point? It doesn't make any sense. But a lot of this movie doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make
So
sense.
I'm just gonna say by default,
The opening museum.
That's
yeah.
it.
All right, fair enough. Like I said, I enjoyed it too. So, all right, a couple more non-action scenes we got to talk to because I got plenty more questions here, Mike. Starting with the Poison Ivy intro. Apparently, she's somewhere in South America doing her research, which is apparently funded by Wayne Enterprises, although they had canceled their funding. But you got to assume somewhere between her and the other doctor that they're getting some kind of research funding from an academic institution. And I just question what that institution might be. My hunch is that it's the same college that credentialed Jack Napier in molecular chemistry all the way back in the original Batman. They're just handing out research grants willy-nilly, funding that. The other part that caught my ear big time was when this doctor is trying to sell the Bane. He calls it a super soldier serum, codenamed Venom. Really? In Batman? You're going to go with 2 explicit Marvel references and a super soldier serum and then codename it Venom. You got to know what you're doing there. And man, you're playing in someone else's playground there. Just stay away from that stuff. Just say it makes him really strong. It's, codenamed Superman or something. I don't know. Like, you can't be crossing streams like that. This is a DC film. What are you doing?
It's very on the nose, and I love that her first line is like, "Curses! This thing I've been working on it doesn't work again." Like, that's terrible. But then I want to call out, she is specifically, as she's like audio journaling, she says, "Why doesn't Dr. Woodrew let me down into that basement?" And then she immediately goes into the basement and the doctor's like, "Welcome."
Just some kind of misunderstanding. She just assumed, but she was never explicitly told.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Mr. Freeze's hideout. I will say, I like the look. It really is pretty cool. He's kind of forcing his henchmen to participate in musical numbers while they're shivering. Felt kind of bad for them. Again, part of the audition process, I suppose. But this leads us to a character. What's her name, Mike?
Miss Behaven.
Miss Behaven. Played none other than absolute 90s sex pot Vivica A. Fox. I mean, she is a total smoke show.
Yeah, she looks great. She's absolutely lovely.
Comes up on him, throwing herself at him. She's part of his crew. Otherwise, like, how'd she even get involved? So you got to assume that there's something going on. You got like a Miss Tessmacher situation or something like that. And yet he's like, no, I must only be chased for my wife who's in frozen suspension. And then he says, I need some quality time with my wife, and closes the door. Now, Mike, I don't want to raise accusations of necrophilia exactly.
She's not dead. She's alive.
She's technically alive, but that is a really freaky kink. If you need quality time with your suspended animation wife, he's like, close the door. I got to have some quality time. It's a lot of rough questions here. Shortly thereafter, we have a scene in which we meet Barbara Wilson. What? First of all, okay, I get that you are the daughter of Alfred's sister, his beloved sister, daughter of my dear sister, Margaret, aka Penny, is that what he calls her? Let's go with this. Alicia Silverstone is, as you said, in real life, 19. Okay, we'll just call it. She's 19. All right. Alfred is like late 70s at this point, I would say, right? Like, he looks like he's maybe even into his 80s. This is his niece, meaning his biological sister's daughter. The math isn't really mathing for me here. This leads to probably the most obvious I've got question of the entire film, which is,
yeah, let's hear it.
Why does she not have a British accent? If she grew up in England with Alfred's sister as her mom.
I definitely had that one written down, so thank you for bringing it up.
What's going on with her accent? That being said, I think I have cracked the case on this one. I think I have actually resolved this question, Mike, and it actually all makes perfect sense. She's an adopted daughter of his sister who grew up in American orphanages and somehow encountered her mom when she was visiting Alfred in America or something, was adopted. Then, because that also explains some of her self-destructive behavior. Alfred's sister, you gotta assume, is a upstanding woman and is not gonna raise a kid to just be completely rebellious like that. So sure. I'm thinking that she was adopted from an orphanage, which actually sadly makes her a double orphan, because presumably she lost her parents originally, her biologicals, and then, as we learn in this movie, her parents died in a car accident 5 years prior. Again, I guess she was just kicking around England on her own. If she's 19, 5 years prior, that means she was 14 years old, taking care of herself on the mean streets of England while getting a stipend of support from Alfred. I just don't understand why they didn't just make this character Barbara Gordon like she is in the comics and just call it a day. This is my daughter. Like, have a scene at the beginning. I'm Commissioner Gordon, and this is my daughter, and have some. No. I'm just confused. Why wouldn't they go with Barbara Gordon? I don't understand.
It's because Commissioner Gordon is completely underdeveloped in the last three movies. We have
Totally.
seen him in maybe 10 minutes worth of runtime throughout those movies. My question in the scene where she shows up is she's like, Uncle Alfred, and gives him a hug. And Robin looks at Bruce and he's like, Uncle? And Bruce just kind of gives a shrug, like, I don't know. You've been with this guy for 30 years? You don't know if he has a niece? What are you doing?
He says something like, we live in a house of secrets after all, or like something to that effect. And it's like, yeah, okay, like I understand that. But also, to your point, he is the fatherly figure to Bruce Wayne. You would think at some point it would come up. I have brothers and
30
sisters.
years?
He's got a brother, Wilfred, who, by the way, is the butler for the Maharaja. Oh, just
wow.
cringing, rolling my
wow.
eyes. Yeah, that's canon according to this movie. But yeah, that's a great point. It's like maybe they really don't know each other all that well. And like her whole rant about how he's being forced into subservience and doesn't really want to be there.
Yeah.
Maybe she's
Could be
actually
true.
right. Like it really raises a lot of questions for me. I do want to briefly also talk about Mike, the big thing in the film, which is the illness of McGregor syndrome. I haven't really talked about this a lot, but I actually knew someone who suffered from McGregor syndrome. It's a real illness.
No, it's not.
No. Like, fortunately, they were wealthy enough to get crushed diamonds intravenously injected into their bloodstream while suspended in a giant jar of water. So they were able to pull through. But there's just not enough awareness around McGregor syndrome, and I really want to call that out. We'll have a link to the foundation solving McGregor syndrome in the show description. So please donate if you're able. It's a really, really tough illness, and I'm glad that this movie had the courage to kind of put a face to such a devastating disease.
That Kickstarter goes directly into Mark's personal
No, it
bank
doesn't.
account, so.
No, it doesn't. The Institute for Research into McGregor Syndrome, aka Cold-Blooded.
I have so many questions. They never say what it is. Mr. Freeze's wife has it, and then Alfred has it, but he has stage 1 of it. So what does it do? I don't.
Mike, again, this is why this movie is courageously bringing some of it to life. It is a very mysterious illness. As someone whose close friend has suffered from this, I don't really want to talk about it. It's too traumatic, but just, again, donate if you can. Link in bio, as they say. All right, Mike. Real quick, I do want to talk just briefly about secret identities. They're absolutely terrible. I mean, you're immediately spotting Robin is clearly Dick Grayson. He's nothing covering his hair. Batman's out here willy-nilly playing with fire at galas, trying to basically out himself. Batgirl. Now, this was the other joke I enjoyed. So she takes out Poison Ivy, shows up, saves the day. He's like, how'd you do that? And she's like, Bruce, it's me, Barbara. Robin's like, oh, she knows who we are. Guess we'll just have to kill her. And he says, yep, we'll kill her later. We have work to do. Kind of like that line. Kind of found it amusing. The threat of violence towards Barbara Gordon for discovering their secret identity. One of the few things that genuinely brought a little twinkle to my eye watching this
Hated
movie.
it. Absolutely hated it.
All right, what was your best joke then? What do you got?
My best joke, and it's just because it completely caught me off guard, was at the end of the movie, Batman is appealing to Mr. Freeze's sense of humanity, and he says there's someone else who is also suffering from McGregor syndrome, and if you help me, you will have saved a life. And Mr. Freeze opens his arm gauntlet thing, and there are 2 vials of crushed diamond, frozen, what have you. And he gives them two vials of this crazy stuff. And again, I was not expecting this line at all. He says, take 2 and call me in the morning.
Okay, that was pretty funny. That actually, I forgot to bring this up in questions part, but you're really just carrying around vials of the one cure for your wife. Like, and you're doing terrorism. He's a straight up terrorist trying to free cities, fighting Batman, getting punched. You're keeping it
but he has the
right
cure
on your
with
wrist. Stash it in your lab, bro. You've got a cool secret lair. You've got even secret rooms inside your secret lair. Like, why isn't it not there? Why is it on your actual person? Pretty damning indictment of his intellect there, I gotta say.
I'm glad that you brought this up because I wanted to spend a minute to talk about the best Mr. Freeze ice pun. There are 27 ice puns in this movie, and I'm going to give you just a handful of them, and I want you to tell me which one is your favorite.
I love it. Let's go.
Number one, Mr. Freeze. What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. Number two, let's kick some ice. Number three, cool party. Number four, in this universe, there's only one absolute. Everything freezes. Number five, stay cool, bird boy. And by the way, I'm pretty sure that all five of these lines are the first five lines that Schwarzenegger actually says in the movie.
They're all pretty close to the top. That's right.
And then I'll give you one more. Number six, allow me to break the ice. My name is Freeze. Learn it well, for it's the chilling sound of your doom.
The actual funniest written line is the dinosaur one. That because he's like in front of a dinosaur, and while that's not technically correct, I did appreciate that. But the most unintentionally hilarious one, probably the skin crawlingest moment of all of them, is the little monologue of "Remember it well, for it is your." I mean,
Yeah.
give it to me in full in your best Arnold. I gotta hear it, buddy. I gotta hear it.
I fucking can't.
We can all do an Arnold. Let's hear it.
Watch the numbers, Batman, for they are the harbingers of your doom. Can you feel it coming? The icy cold of space. Ah, at 30,000 feet, your heart will freeze and be no more.
That was excellent. Really solid Arnold. I too have an
you.
Arnold.
Thank
It
you.
slows down like this a little bit. It might be a bit too German, but somewhere in here. This might be the cringiest Arnold of all of his like bad acting. I mean, it's really, really rough. This will just like let's just lead it into the bad guy, good guy section. There's a lot of bad performances in this, as we've discussed, but with all love and respect to a truly remarkable American story, I got to give it to Arnold here, man. I mean, he's going for it for sure, but it is really,
As good
really
guy?
tough. No, he is the bad guy in this movie. He is the worst. I think he is the worst of all of the turds in this movie. This is the stinkiest one. I kind of feel like it was so bad. Like his career never really recovered. I took a look at his IMDb post Batman and Robin. I haven't seen a lot of these movies, but I don't think there's a single good movie after Batman and Robin. Now, to be fair, again, it might start with Jingle All the Way and it just cursed him. End of Days, Sixth Day, Collateral Damage, Terminator 3, which is terrible. I'm sorry, it's terrible. I know the Expendables series has its defenders. I think I tried to watch the first one and I was just like, this is horrible. Maggie is supposed to be okay, I guess. Didn't
it's
see
not
that
bad.
one. Yeah, I didn't see that one, so maybe that's okay. But Terminator Genesis is bad. And then
That's
just a
bad.
bunch of stuff I've never heard of. And then there was Dark Fate, Killing Gunther, Aftermath. Now, again, he did quit acting to become governor of California for a while, so
I was going to say, yeah.
you know, we'll give him a pass in terms of his career. He took a pause, but it was rough from here on out. And yeah, I think this might have been the harbinger of doom for his whole career. That's my bad guy award.
As the numbers are for Batman, yeah.
Oh, it's so bad.
My bad guy is Clooney. He is terrible in this role. He's the worst Batman. He cannot stop shaking his head. And even Steven Spielberg is on record as saying you would be a huge star if you didn't move your head so much.
Wow, interesting. Like I said, we're picking what's the stinkiest turd in this movie, and there's a lot of turds. So
That's really true.
it's
Go
even hard to identify a good guy. But Mike, I had to give it to our guy yet again, Michael Goff as Alfred. He's taken a clean sweep.
Too easy.
It is, but honestly, I'm excited to hear your pick. But Alfred brings what little actual pathos that exists in this movie onto the screen. It's really tough to see him getting so sick. And I did think that one of the only clever things about this script is that the sentimental journey and his whole life being threatened kind of mirrors the audience reaction as well. That like we've had 4 films of the same Alfred. He's been the one connective tissue. Him and Commissioner Gordon are the only 2 actors that really have significant roles in all 4 of these films. Commissioner Gordon, as you said, is totally underwritten in pretty much all of these movies. If there's one person who somewhat redeems himself and doesn't cover themselves in total shame and embarrassment, it's Michael Goff. And I will always say that is my favorite Alfred. Shout out to Michael Goff. You're a real one. Who's your good guy?
It's Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Wow. Amazing. We have actual opposites here. Let's go. All right, give it to us.
He's the only one having fun in this movie. Like
Yeah.
I said, if you were to have someone deliver one-liners and be absolutely terrible, who else could do that but Arnold? He's has a long tenured history of being the guy who delivers that terrible line, and he does it with the Arnold charm.
Fair enough. He does. All right. We got to talk briefly about death and destruction. I counted 4 explicit deaths in this movie, Mike. The professor who Poison Ivy kisses and the creator of Bane. The henchman with the newspaper that Mr. Freeze freezes in his secret lair. Got to assume he didn't unfreeze him in that 12-minute time span.
Yep.
Killed the henchman.
Definitely.
And then Poison Ivy kisses the 2 prison guards who go down for the count. So those guys, Jesse the Body Ventura being one of them.
Oh, I know.
So I got 4. Yeah, it's definitely Jesse. That being said, I got to think there's a lot more casualties than we're let on with the freezing of Gotham City. So if you're in a building and it gets frozen that deeply for even less than 11 minutes, I think Batman says, pipes are probably going to burst. That's going to cause some flooding. So if you're in a basement unit and you can't get out of there, you could die. Now, there are people probably on the dark side of the buildings where the sun didn't exactly hit because of the satellites. Those people could still be frozen in their apartments. Someone opening their fridge and their arm gets, completely frozen to the fridge or something like that. So I got to think that probably a couple dozen casualties from the Gotham freeze. I don't know. Does that number feel realistic to you? So somewhere around, I would say 30 to 50 people total killed in this movie.
It does. I think that's a fair assessment for sure.
Okay, so not especially violent, but kind of low-key more death than you might expect. This leads us to my favorite category, Mike. What's it really all about? And let me tell you, despite the superficial, cartoonish nature of this film, there are some really important messages about the dangers of women who succumb to environmental nihilism and men with broken hearts. Right now, as we speak, there are radical groups of activists who are throwing soup on priceless works of art and lie down on the freeway and obstruct traffic in order to bring attention to climate change. These people are frankly the real-life version of supervillains. Their arrogance and certitude only serves to undermine the cause that they claim to believe in. Similarly, men will do some crazy stuff when they're in love with women, and they might even act even more recklessly when their hearts are shattered from the embarrassment of rejection. The danger these types of people can cause is almost enough to warrant some of us to don a cape and cowl, but until that brave vigilante steps forward from the shadows, publicly shaming them on podcasts like ours will have to suffice. Well done, Batman and Robin. Well done. And now it's time for our final verdict, Mike. As you know, loyal listeners grade on a scale of classic, great, good, okay, bad, and terrible. I think you can probably discern the top 3 are off the board already. So we're grading on okay, bad, or terrible. As we discussed in our previous season when getting into some real stinkers from the 80s Superman movies, the distinction between bad and terrible is the ability to laugh and enjoy yourself while you make fun of these movies. That elevates you from terrible to bad. I think there's no doubt that this movie is quite fun, actually, to make fun of. Maybe the funnest of all the bad movies we've discussed thus far in our podcast. So I think this is solidly bad, and I'm actually going to go one step further. I think technically, for me, this is a better movie than Batman Forever. I definitely enjoyed it more than Batman
You gotta
Forever.
be kidding me.
I think
What's
the
wrong
tone
with you?
I think the tone is consistent throughout, whereas Batman Forever is kind of muddled and they try to bring in deep themes around Batman's duality and his, subconscious and psyche, and it just doesn't really work with the camp. Tommy Lee Jones being absolutely terrible and Jim Carrey just being kind of miscast and out of place. Everyone in this movie is at least rowing in the same direction. The production design is better. The sets look better. The costumes are better. I think this is a better movie. Now, this is very relative because I'm not going to argue that this is even an okay movie. It is very much a bad movie, but it is merely bad and it is not terrible. Is this among the worst superhero films ever made? Okay, sure. Is it among the worst films of all time? No, it's not that bad. You can enjoy yourself if you just surrender to it. It's a bad movie, but not a terrible one. What do you got?
There was a time when I thought that Batman was the worst superhero of all time. When this movie came out, the way that I thought was because of that. You have Batman Forever going into this movie. You go from kind of bad to worse. And like I said, I saw both of these movies in the theater. I came out shaking my head as a 10-year-old. I was like, what are they doing? This is not a fun movie. This is not good. It's not even fun to laugh at in a way. As I grew older, I started to appreciate more the ability to laugh at it. Even watching it 3 days ago, I definitely found things that I laughed at it. Like I said, Arnold's lines, "Take two, call me in the morning," definitely caught me off guard and made me laugh surprisingly, genuinely. But it's still a really bad movie. There's a lot of this movie that doesn't make sense. It throws back to 1966 a lot. I think that this is worse than Batman Forever. I think it's worse than a lot of the movies we're going to talk about going forward. And I'm going to go ahead and say this movie is just quite frankly bad.
Okay, but you're not going terrible.
No, because bad, you can still laugh at it in a way, but terrible is like it's too bad to laugh at. And this doesn't have that. It's like there's still a lot of lines that are still kind of funny, make you laugh. There's still a lot of performances that make you laugh, but there's still a lot that just like make you roll your eyes. So,
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. That means really we only have two films that reach the threshold of terrible, which is Supergirl and Superman 4. Otherwise, we are cruising along in bad, which is good. I did see an interesting quote in which Marvel Studios head and chief creative Kevin Feige was on record as saying that Batman and Robin may be the most important comic book film ever made because it was so bad that it demanded a new way of doing things and created the opportunity for him to make X-Men, which he worked on, and Spider-Man in 2002 in a way that respected the source material to a higher degree. So
that's amazing.
yeah, and I actually think that's right. I think the legacy of this film is that it bottomed out the Batman franchise. This is the last Batman movie we're going to discuss of the live action ilk. It eventually led to Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, which is among the best in superhero film history. To Feige's point, it was like, all right, we got to go back to the drawing board again, in the same way that Superman 4 bottomed out that series and they had to go back to the drawing board. This movie crashed and burned so spectacularly, there was nowhere to go but up. All right, it's time for our final category, our recommendations. Mike, why don't you kick us off?
I spent a lot of time ragging on George Clooney in this movie. I think that he's really bad in this movie. So I want to turn it around and showcase something that he is really good in, which is 2008's Burn After Reading, directed by the Coen brothers. I wanted to specifically call this out because George Clooney is so bad in Batman and Robin, but he is so good in this movie. He's a paranoid G-man in a way, but he's not really a G-man. He knows all the different ways to spy on people, but he's being spied on. And it's a commentary on how the people in power and are spying on people don't really know anything. He's like the useful idiot that's in charge of his department. I think he does a really good job in this role. It's a very dynamic character. He's very humorous. Him and Brad Pitt, both especially, are amazing. And again, it's a great addition to the Coen brothers filmography. So 2008's Burn After Reading is my recommendation for film.
Yeah, it's a great one. It's probably my second favorite George Clooney Coen Brothers movie. I am going to save my favorite George Clooney Coen Brothers movie for a future episode because it is absolutely stacked with future superhero cinema club stars. So there's a lot of ways to talk about that movie. You know, George Clooney, looking through his filmography, it's really impressive. He actually has done a number of great films similar to Arnold and Uma. But I'm going to go with a little bit of a deep cut. And it's a movie I feel like that's somewhat been forgotten to time the 2009 Jason Reitman film, Up in the Air. Mike, this is a movie about a human resources worker who collects frequent flyer mileage flying around the country, assisting in employee termination. His character is a corporate stooge in this movie, as he often plays throughout his filmography. But it's really about human connection and his inability to settle down. I found this to be one of the most devastating endings to any film I've ever seen. I won't spoil it here, but I really found the final twist to be quite heavy and profound as it related to perhaps some of my own personal life decisions, choices in terms of romantic entanglements. It's just a really good, charming George Clooney performance. This was, I believe, Anna Kendrick's first film, and she's obviously gone on to do quite a bit. Vera Farmiga is in this. She's an excellent actress, and she is incredible in this movie. Jason Bateman has a great supporting role as the owner of Career Transition Counseling. Great supporting characters. Danny McBride turns up. Zach Galifianakis turns up. J.K. Simmons, Sam Elliott. There's just a lot of great performances and great supporting actors in this film. 2009's Up in the Air, an underrated George Clooney banger. Mike, why don't you hit us with your comic recommendation?
So with the comics, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but I'm going to recommend the Batman the Animated Series episode, which is called Heart of Ice, which gives Mr. Freeze his backstory about how he's trying to save his wife, Nora, and how she has this symptom, and everything that he's doing is to save her. He becomes a really sympathetic character in this respect, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I think it's episode 3 of season 1, so it's kind of right out the gate. And Paul Dini wrote a very sympathetic character. It's completely hand drawn, which makes it completely gorgeous in respect for animated series. It's one of the best episodes of the entire series. Batman the Animated Series, Heart of Ice, as my comic, but also TV show recommendation.
And in keeping with my apparently contrarian streak on tonight's episode, my comic recommendation is going to be All-Star Batman and Robin. This is an extremely divisive and strongly, frankly, disliked comic book series that was picked up right after All-Star Superman, which we praised in our previous season. Written by Frank Miller and drawn by my all-time favorite comic book artist, Jim Lee. This is a very dark take on the character. It features Batman basically traumatizing an extremely young Dick Grayson, who sees his parents gunned down at the circus in the opening scene. It's really, I think, a very clever deconstruction of Batman, and it somewhat punctures the hole in the Batman myth and really showing him as somewhat as a deranged bad influence on a young kid who's just completely understandably traumatized. I just appreciated this comic book's subversiveness. It's what you might expect from Frank Miller, who's definitely one of the more subversive comic book writers of all time. Again, I'm not saying it's the best comic ever, but I don't think it's nearly as bad as his reputation might suggest. Jim Lee is just one of the greatest artists of all time, in my opinion, comic book or otherwise. I absolutely love his work. As recently as this afternoon, he's dropping drawings teasing the upcoming Superman sequel, Man of Tomorrow, that James Gunn is apparently going to produce, with Lex Luthor in his mecha outfit, getting nerds like me extremely excited for this film, which will apparently be dropping in 2027. I came to Jim Lee through Marvel Comics and his work specifically on X-Men. That will always be what I associate most closely with him, but he has been part of the DC staple for almost 2 decades now, I would say. And I think his art with Batman and Robin both in this book is exceptional on its own. All-Star Batman and Robin the Boy Wonder, that's my comic book recommendation.
I specifically remember the splash page in that issue that shows Jim Lee's Batcave. It's like a spread of 4 pages that shows all the different Batmobiles and like what the Batcave entails. And it's absolutely epic. And yeah, that's a great recommendation, I think.
Yeah, it's funny. The image that sticks out in my mind, I believe it's Batman with Robin in the Batmobile going off a massive jump, and Robin's face is pure terror. and Batman is just smiling gleefully. I think that image alone really upset a lot of longtime Batman fans. I found it, quite frankly, a more of a realistic take on what it would really happen if a weird antisocial superhero adopted a 12-year-old child to be his protege. So check it out for yourself and decide, but it's definitely worth reading. And that brings us to the end of another episode of Superhero Cinema Club. Be sure to check us out next week when we will be discussing Batman, The Mask of the Phantasm, the animated series feature film adaptation. Mike, we've got some banger special guests on this episode. I think it's one of our best ones. I'm really looking forward to people listening and reacting to it. I really had a great time recording it, and it's been really fun to revisit Batman the Animated Series, which holds up beautifully. Some of the best stuff that's related to Batman, period. So be sure to watch Batman, The Mask of the Phantasm, and join us next week once again on another episode of Superhero Cinema Club.
Superhero Cinema Club is hosted by Mark Schiff and me, Mike Carnes. Produced by Mark Schiff. Editing by Mike Carnes. Original music provided by Chris Carnes. Find him on Spotify. Be sure to follow us on social media. You can find us at Superhero Cinema Club, and don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a review. Join us next time as we dive into another epic adventure from the world of superhero cinema.